right. Well, we're here at B2B Forum, and I'm here with Erica. And so you were the community manager at Moz, right?
Yes, I was one of the community managers there.
And so your time at Moz, I started interacting with you when I started to see you hit the speaking circuit. And you presented at CMC in Vegas. And I was just floored. One, your presentation was awesome.
Well, thank you.
And I love that you tied it, the personal side, and you brought in who you were and you attached it to your presentation. And so when we talked to Rand, I even mentioned it during the show because it left a mark, right? I saw a whole bunch of presentations that day. I remember that one. How, as a community manager, did you work with people to make sure that they were authentic and they brought in their personality?
So I'm a big believer that we can't really change who we are. So why should we just pretend that we're like these marketing robots and we're out there and the only thing we're talking about is marketing and we're like, yes, let's stick to this one like very small subject and not talk about who we are and not talk about what makes us different and unique and inject that. So at Moz, one of their brand values is authenticity. So it was much easier there and there wasn't as much of a maybe conflict as other brands that I've worked for who have been a little leery of that, who have been like, what happens when someone brings their personality in? What happens when they get known? And, and I'm experiencing this right now. What happens when you're no longer there?
Yeah.
And what happens when you're associated with that brand? And will it, devalue the brand, or will it be a big scandal, or
How does it
something
change?
like that?
Yeah.
And how does that flexibility work? But I think, it's so important to make personal connections as a brand and let people know, like, yes, there's humans behind this. That you need to take that risk.
Yeah.
And you need to put people out there. And it doesn't mean you can't train them on brand voice and tone, which is a big thing like I've done. And it doesn't mean that you can't, give them PR training or anything like that. But it does mean that you have to give them some leeway to be themselves. It doesn't mean that you have to, put them as the author on that blog post or let them come to conferences and speak about the work they're doing.
Yeah. And it's just like a campaign. It changes year after year. You change kind of, the company direction, the voices that you have, but allowing somebody to have their own. I think of Michael Brenner, right? He's changed from SAP and then he was NewsCred and now he's on his own. And each time it's Michael Brenner and the company he's with it's like a NASCAR thing. It's like a big logo on his chest and you equate the thought leadership with the company and the brand, and the company doesn't lose that when Michael's gone, right?
Yeah.
They continue to be able to use those resources, but they have the option to put another person in the driver's seat and allow them to go on, and that person's brand gets to go with them. And so companies just, you need to leverage those brands, and you need to also think about that from your team perspective of what are the voices that we have in here, and how can we use those to build better awareness of the organization and kind of who we are and what the culture is.
I think it can be so powerful when people look at a company and realize that it's more than just a figurehead or more than this sort of nebulous thing that they're interacting with. You definitely, when you look at any company, there's going to be cycles. There's going to be different marketing messages. There's going to be a different tones as it evolves throughout the years. And usually, if you know enough internally, you can point to like, oh, well, that was when they hired a new CMO, or this was when they hired an agency to come in and help refine this.
Yeah.
And people as benchmarks can help relate to the public. Like, why are we changing this? Why are we doing this? And just, again, having that personal connection and knowing that there's someone that you can go out and ask these questions to. Like, why is this happening? I'm a concerned community member. Tell me more about why this change happened, or how can I make this better? At Moz, I always loved getting feedback. So one of the things I did was run MozCon, and every year we tried to iterate and make the conference better than it was the year before, which meant we had to get a lot of feedback from the audience and figure out like both what does the audience not know they need that I want to give them, but also what does the audience ask for? Because a lot of times, especially at conferences, when you run them, the kind of like you get a lot of the obvious feedback, which is like, oh, the Wi-Fi went out. Well, when the Wi-Fi goes out, everyone knows.
Yeah.
We know the Wi-Fi went out. Or
it's like an airline delay. It's like
we knew the
much we can
coffee
do.
ran out, or
Yeah.
like whatever it is. But what is the thing that will take this to the actual next level? And what is that piece of feedback maybe we're not seeing yet?
I
that
love
can
it when
really
you
help it
get
out?
dinged at a session where you're speaking because the room was uncomfortable, right? They're like, "Oh, it's so hot in there." It's like, "What, dude, you gave me you gave me a 5 out of 10 because the room was hot." I'm like, come on. But yeah, it's the experience people have, and I love that conference chairs, like the one you discussed at MozCon, and consider both sides to say they don't know what they need in some circumstances, so I'm going to give them a new experience, but then also I definitely have to listen to what they're talking about.
Your CMO just handed you a global campaign with a short deadline and the request to lead with video. You're given a team of you and, well, you. This campaign is asking for 15 videos that need to create awareness and engagement across multiple online destinations, drive demand and lead gen, and measure performance. Whew, calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. We've got you covered. First things first, we're gonna set you up with Video Marketing Suite, which will allow you to access everything you need from a single online location. And it's made for marketers, so you can easily run your campaign yourself. With just a couple of clicks, your videos are uploaded, automatically optimized to work across all screens and devices. You can distribute to your social channels to reach audiences where they are, and then drive them back to a customized branded video portal using Gallery, which you can create quickly, easily, and in multiple languages. For live events, Bright Cove offers an easy-to-use live streaming interface, and after you're done streaming, trim the video and post it on demand for people who missed the event. We'll even help you create interactive elements to optimize video for lead generation. To make sense of all this, our analytics platform tracks a number of statistics in an easy-to-use UI. This data feeds into leading marketing automation platforms. You can see who watched and for how long, and what other content they consumed. Then you know what to create and who it's for. We're Bright Cove. We'll help ensure that your video marketing is a success.
Talking about MozCon and then your presentation here about getting scrappy, how are you seeing marketers and the problem that's kind of arising that is requiring marketers to get a little bit more scrappy than normal?
For me, I always see a huge gap in marketing and what makes like a decent good marketer to what makes a great marketer is the critical thinking skills. Like, how can I take a technique and apply it to my brand? How can I push it that next step further? I always used to laugh. So I ran a lot of webinars at Moz, and we do a Q&A session at the end. And, people had a ton of great questions, but you always knew you were at the end of Q&A when someone would be like, "Okay, I'm a realtor. How do I apply that to realtor?" And then the next question was like, "I'm a plumber. How do I apply that to plumbers?" And it's like, okay, this is where you need to step back and you need to critically think about your brand.
Yep.
You need to do some brainstorming. Maybe you need to go back to some of these tools, whether it's personas or your brand values, and get some inspiration and figure out how you can then apply this.
Yeah. And then you got to think of the problem, right? You got to, like you said, not just working through the tactics, but what is the problem? And I bet at Moz, with SEO, everybody seems like just get my name and put it on Google and I want to be number one. It's like, oh, well, that ship sailed in 2001.
Yes.
And so now it's a little bit different, right? And you could see that people just desperate and just throwing tactics out the door and not taking the time to think through the strategy and then be scrappy on the execution to allow it to get better and better and better, but use smaller budgets that then grow over time.
I like to always think of what aren't my competitors doing? So why have they left behind a segment of the audience? Or, if you're thinking about social media, which I get asked a lot, like, what social network should I be on? It's the well, look at your competitors. What aren't they on? Can you build an audience there that they couldn't build? Or are they leaving this whole demographic? One of the most interesting companies that I talked with recently, they're called Tomboy, and they make underwear specifically for queer women. So they're like men's styles, but they fit women's bodies.
Yeah.
And it's
a little bit different.
Yeah. And it's a whole underrepresented segment that these like mainstream brands were
Yeah.
completely missing.
Well, I mean, I bought some beard conditioner this week because I've like you see all this like beard stuff going on. It's like I've got a beard and it needs conditioned, and you try it and it's like, hey, this is interesting, right? And it's a need. It was there. I didn't know I needed it. I tried it and I'm like, okay, I need this, right? This is fun. And then same with like hair accessories. Now that my hair is long, it's like they should have some, men-oriented hair scrunchies and stuff like that I can put in there, right?
Totally.
And so right next to the beard wax needs to be the man bun accessories, except for the fake clip-on man bun. That was a couple years ago. That was
not a fan.
No. And so another thing that is interesting about you is you're a big cosplay fan, right?
Yes.
And so how have you seen the creativity that comes through cosplay? Because there is definitely the people who go buy the costume, the deluxe costume, and they put it on and then they go. And then there are people who go way overboard and spend maybe a year working on their costumes just for the 2-hour, entrance and then next year they got to do something else. But how have you seen that kind of affect your marketing, and especially in that scrappy nature?
So I'm a big fan when I do my own cosplay of kind of doing the mix and match. So sometimes I will go out and I'll work with someone who's a seamstress to create me a special piece. So I had a friend who built me a beautiful corset, and I'm a little smaller than many other women, and I couldn't really find one commercially. So this was something I knew I wanted, a nice one that I could like wear for a long time, and I wanted to be able to reuse it and last all day and all that stuff, and like nicely fit me. So like I went out and spent that money. But then when I was building that costume, which was an Emma Frost X-Men costume, I was like, okay, the other pieces, like I need some sort of pants or shorts. And like I think I went to like Forever 21 and like bought some shorts. Like very easy solution. But then I needed a cape, and I was like, okay, I got this. Like capes are pretty easy to sew relatively compared to other stuff.
Yeah, straight lines.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll make it. And then I'm like, okay, I need like a big X-Men like clip to hold it together. I was like, okay, craft foam and, Velcro. Again, kind of all like a little easier. But when it came together, it was very much like I had this like extra sense of pride because I had sewn some of it and like supported my friend with her costuming efforts. And then, made a few shortcuts on some things like pants, which are a little hard to sew to fit right.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's how marketers can see agencies, right? What can they do? Can they create the corset for me? And then, there's a guy I know who's doing some great stuff with video. He started, he's got a wedding business, but he wants to get out of it. How can we use him to leverage some of the production, right? And some of our writers want to get involved. How can we help them write scripts? And essentially you put together the effort with that scrappy approach.
I think it's also the time money equation. Like I love creating content like this, like a podcast or a video. I'm a terrible editor, and I know that whatever I do will take me like 45 times longer to do all the editing. So is there someone I can call on then? Like then it's worth the money for me to pay a friend who can do it in, a tiny fraction of the time that I could have.
Yeah, because that time you just don't get it back, and there are other resources that you can create. And even as as a marketer, you have to look at your time as somebody's bought that, right? A company's bought that. So if it's taking you 2 weeks to do something that it would cost you $500 to outsource, well, that's 2 more weeks you can work on other things for the company to get a better return on that investment.
And it's also really important in being able to value yourself as a marketer. So I do a lot of writing, and when I do writing, I'm specifically do more how-to articles because that's the type of thing I like to do. And I find, that the audience just gets more value out of it. And I spend a lot of time researching it, and then I spend a lot of time writing it. And I did this sort of like calculation, because I'd done some pitches to some editors, and they came back and they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay you this much. And when I did the calculation, I was like, that's not even minimum wage. I live in Seattle. We have $15 minimum wage, so it's higher than a lot of the rest of the country. But still, I was like, this isn't even minimum wage. Like, no. Yeah. You need to go, back and negotiate like how much my time is worth if they really want this article from me.
Exactly. And I think a lot of communities, a lot of content creators need to work with people and say, if we don't have the budget, make it known up front, but then also say, what can we add? How can we add value, right?
Yeah.
A link from a large, website to you that it has follow link, right? That's valuable, right? I can't buy that. So yeah.
Or like, how is this content going to go out? How are you going to promote it?
Exactly.
Are you going to do any PR, which I don't have the time to do?
Exactly. And can I get access to your audience? Can we do another follow-up? Can I get those things? And if you, as a marketer or whoever's a content creator, can go back and negotiate beyond the salary, beyond the budget, and say, where can we do some trading here? Then you'll find a lot more opportunity.
Today, real time is the only time that counts. To stay relevant, you have to stay ahead. Your customers want the right information, right now, wherever they are. So how do you meet the demands of today's customers? By marketing in context. Context accounts for a customer's interaction with your brand. So each touch builds on the next, creating more meaningful experiences for your customers. At Sitecore, we call this context marketing. To do it well, you need marketing technology that has three things: contextual intelligence, content management, and omni-channel automation. Contextual intelligence gives you the information you need about your consumers, so the content you manage is more relevant and is automatically delivered wherever your customers are. The Sitecore Experience platform was built for context marketing, so you can create a more personalized customer experience. Demand more from your marketing technology. Demand more from marketing. Own the experience. Sitecore.
Awesome. So where can people hear about you, learn more?
So I'm a big tweeter, so you can find me on Twitter. I'm McGillivray there, which is like a little bit of a mouthful, but I assume there's gonna be like show notes.
Oh yeah, we'll put it right here. Now that I did that, I have to edit it and put it right there.
So definitely follow me there. I tweet about a lot of stuff. So again, like I take that perspective of being an authentic person. If you want to kind of like look at my portfolio or read my blog, my website is sliverofice.com. And you can kind of find everything else right there as well.
Awesome. Well, best of luck. And I'm excited to hear more about the session that you do here. And I'm sure we'll run into each other more at events.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.